What's going on, everyone? Holy that's brutal. That's a really brutal episode. So this is my review of The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 1 of Season 7. Spoiler alert. Definitely, it's going to be very much a spoiler alert if you've not seen the Season 7, Episode 1 of Season 7 of The Walking Dead, then don't watch this video. It is a huge spoiler, so let's get right into it. The last episode of Season 6 ended on a cliffhanger of who Negan kills. Does he kill Daryl? Does he kill Glenn? Does he kill Abraham? Does he kill Rick? Who does he kill? We don't know. And now we know. And spoiler alert, he kills, he's doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and he kills Abraham. And it's brutal as shit. He smacks him in the head. Abraham, looks up, and Abraham's like, suck my nuts. And then Negan just keeps going. He doesn't stop. He just smashes Abraham's skull in, and this episode is messed up. And then Daryl decides, hey, you know what would be a good idea? Punch Negan in the face. And Negan responds by killing Glenn. So, yeah, not a very smart move on Daryl's behalf, because now Abraham is dead, and thanks to Daryl, Glenn is dead. And Glenn's death is very similar to the comics. It's basically identical. It has Negan smash Glenn once, and Glenn's he's got his eye popping out, he's calling for Maggie, and then Negan just keeps on going. This episode was a really good episode, except for how emotionally disturbing it is. It's a really good episode because it makes Negan so damn important. If he were just to kill Aaron or Eugene, people would not care about, people would just see Negan and be like, yeah, well, he killed a character that's only been on the show for 10 episodes, I don't really care. The fact that he killed two people, and the fact that it was someone as significant, or sort of someone as important as both Abraham and Glenn, Negan's much more important. And also something that I picked up on, which is a pretty obvious thing that was shown, when Negan hits Abraham, Abraham looks over at Sasha and goes like that, which was the whole, Abraham was like, hey, Sasha, I would like to date you and all that. And then, Sasha's like, yeah, well, I don't really want to. And then they sort of both do that. That's not, how the conversation goes, but it's sort of they both go like that, and that's sort of their sign of whatever. It's a symbolism of some sort, going both ways. I don't know. But when Abraham gets hit, he looks over at Sasha and does that, and that just disturbs you even more. And this episode, holy shit, I know I'm very quiet and sort of very serious about this because I can't really be sort of high energetic about the fact that two people just got their brains smashed in. Yeah, hey, it is disturbing. This episode is messed up. It goes to 11 on how messed up it is. Holy shit, I cannot just, oh man. Yeah, it's a good episode, but it's messed up. That's all I can really say. So it starts off with the sneak peek, might I add, because, I did a review of the sneak peek. Yeah, it opens up with the sneak peek, and then they sort of, Negan throws Rick in the RV, and then they drive off. And then they sort of, start doing all this stuff. They start attacking zombies together and stuff like that. Not really together as in buddies, as in, Negan throws Rick out of the RV and just leaves him to defend himself with absolutely no weapons. So, yeah, when I was watching that, and it starts off, it takes about 10 or so minutes, probably a little bit more, a little bit less. It takes sort of 10 minutes to actually show you who dies. And when I was watching that, and just before it showed who dies, I was like, are they just going to wait until the last 10 minutes of the episode and then show us? But thankfully they don't. Thankfully they sort of have enough, not really enough guts, because they didn't kill Daryl, which was sort of, the whole thing was if Daryl dies, we riot. When Daryl punches Negan, I was like, okay, Daryl's going to die now. And then Negan just turns around and just smacks Glenn. And I'm like, well, they stuck to the comics, so they've got some balls, but they didn't really kill Daryl. And that's sort of something, even though I don't watch it, I highly respect Game of Thrones for killing their sort of important characters, because they've got enough guts and enough balls to go that extra mile and say, well, you know what would shock the audience? Killing the super important character. Walking Dead doesn't really have that. They're like, oh, you know, let's kill someone, let's, you know, not really tell them who it is, because maybe if they get pissed off we can slowly change it, you know, like, they have very little clues just in case they were to change it and be like, well, people don't want Daryl to die, let's make it Abraham, like, sort of, yeah, that's sort of how I feel about Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. Game of Thrones is sort of like, you know what, I don't like this character, you guys like this character's dead, but Walking Dead's like, oh, you guys don't want this character to die, oh shit, it's Abraham, you know, that's sort of how I feel about it. So, long story short, this episode is messed up completely. Abraham and Glenn die, and then also Rick is like, Negan is like, hey, alright, come here, Carl, and then he like, you know, Carl, put out your hand and put it on the ground, and then he draws a line on Carl's arm, and then he goes, hey, Rick, cut off Carl's arm, and watching that, you're like, oh, like, Negan, don't mess with Negan, like, Jesus Christ, Negan will kill and destroy anyone who stands in his way. And Rick is like about to cut off Carl's arm, and Negan's like, hang on, Rick. Now you're scared. That's what I wanted from you. And that whole thing, it's like a rising note, and I actually thought, because they were sort of implying that Rick was going to get his hand cut off when Negan throws him in the RV, and then they were going to cut Carl's arm off, I was like, well, are they sort of passing the torch from Rick getting his arm cut off to Carl getting his arm cut off? And they don't, because it probably would have not really ruined the show a little bit, but it sort of would have been like, well, how do we edit out an entire arm of Carl's? But yeah, this whole episode is... holy shit. So guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please click the like button, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you guys. Gonna have some trouble sleeping tonight.